Hi, everybody. Happy Friday night. Welcome to the 710 Daily Sesh. I'm Janine, your Friday night host, and I'll be yakking and smoking with you tonight. So, in Toronto here, we had a hell of a week. It was extremely hot. Um, some of us melted. And I will say that, smoking a joint when you're too hot, it's always good for you. Helps cool you down. At least that's what I've always found. So, got them, have them, keep cool. And, the booze isn't really the best thing to have when you're really hot, but might be nice going down when it goes down, but it makes you a little hot. So this week, finding everything, found a really cool book. Found two books from my youth. So both of them are from my teenage years. We have this one, Golden Guide to Hallucinogenic Plants. It was $1.95, and it was published in 1976. 1976. So that was the year I turned 13. My parents had this to, warn us like the dangers. Of course, your cannabis fairy took this book and went, oh, let's see what's inside of it. Hallucinogenics. Okay, I think this is the book for me. It's very, very interesting because the first one, now there's sort of like history, how to take them. That's got chemical composition. And the first one listed there in the chemical composition, we got THC. Oh, hang on, that page. We got THC. First one. Oh, why did that go so dark? Okay. So this was my little book, one of my little books that I read. And I can remember actually reading this book and going, I want to try peyote. That peyote looked really cool. There's a little section down here on peyote. Use of peyote by the Aztecs. Stuff like that. So I thought this was a really, really cool book, and I've had it for years and years and years and years and years. And it didn't quite work I guess it did quite work a little ways, because I found cannabis, and I would try other drugs in high school, but it would. I would try these things and go, oh, well, it's okay. Yes, it's okay, but I'd rather smoke a joint. So, THC. And it's funny what they have written in here about marijuana. So, first of all, it's classified marijuana, hashish, or hemp. Species of the genus Cannabis. Also called kif, bang, charas. Is one of the oldest cultivated plants. It is also one of the most widely spread weeds, having escaped cultivation, appearing as an advantageous plant everywhere, except in the polar regions and the wet forested tropics. Cannabis is the source of hemp fiber, edible fruit, an industrial oil, a medicine, and a narcotic. Despite its great age and its economic importance, the plant is still poorly understood, characterized more by what we do not know about it than what we know. Cannabis is a rank, weedy annual that is extremely variable and may attain a height of 18 feet, flourishing best in disturbed, nitrogen-rich soils near human habitation. It has been called a camp follower, going with man into new areas. Imagine that. It is normally dioecious, that is, the male and the female parts are on different plants. The male or stamen plant is usually weaker than the female or pistillate plant. Pistillate flowers grow in the leaf axils. The intoxicating constituents are normally concentrated in a resin in the developing female flowers and adjacent leaves and stems. Doesn't that sound wonderful? Classification of cannabis is disputed by botanists. They disagree about the family to which it belongs, also about the number of species. The plant is sometimes placed in the fig or mulberry family or the nettle family, but it is now usually separated together with the hop plant into a distinct family, Cannabis. It has been widely thought that there is one species, Cannabis sativa, which partly as a result of selection by man has developed many races or varieties for better fiber, for more oil content, or far stronger narcotic content. Selection for narcotic activity has been especially notable in such areas as India, where intoxicating properties have had religious significance. Environment also has probably influenced this biologically changeable species, especially for fiber excellence and narcotic activity. Current research indicates that there may be other species. Cannabis indica and Cannabis ruderalis. All cannabis is native to Central Asia. Well. Isn't that that's what that's the little tidbit they give. Now they do go on, there is a little history of cannabis use. Medical, let's hear it. Medical value has been known for centuries. Its long history of use in folk medicine is significant, and it has been included more recently in Western pharmacopoeias. It was listed in the United States pharmacopoeia until the 1930s as a valuable, especially in the treatment of hysteria. The progress made in modern research encourages the belief that so prolific a chemical factory as cannabis may indeed offer potential for new medicine. Okay, so that's pretty interesting. There was this little section on mushrooms, and there's mushroom. One of the paragraphs is listed as mushroom worship. Well, I think us and most people, mushrooms are. I mean, you're not necessarily going to want to do large quantities every day, but mushrooms are definitely a help. That's for sure. That is for sure. Okay. Oh, it's 7:10. Dab, dab, dab away. If you're one of those dabbing people. I got my joints. I got my joints. I will say it's, when you're trying to talk and smoke, like one or the other. Okay. So this is the other book I found. I have been searching for this book because this is a really cool book. Okay. Here we go, kids. This is the official handbook for marijuana users called A Child's Garden of Grass. I don't know if you can see there, was $1.25. This book, my boyfriend in high school gave me, John Summers. So John's dad was a university professor at York, and he smoked cannabis. And when I was a teenager, we were friends, and then we were dating, and then we were friends, and then we were dating, and then we were friends. He's sort of my high school boyfriend. And his dad was a cannabis user, and his dad was a Rhodes Scholar also, too. His dad was very, very smart. And I used to go over to my boyfriend's house, and I would smoke cannabis with his father in the TV room, and we would watch TV or a movie sometimes. And like, seriously? What other freaking adult was I consuming cannabis with? And this guy was like a freaking English professor. So, we would smoke and he would talk esoterically about authors and stuff. His guy really was Ernest Hemingway. And luckily I had read a book or two of his so I could speak reasonably to him. Yeah, I was a real cannabis user. I loved cannabis. And so I'm not sure if he took this from his dad or if he asked his dad if I could have it, but he gave me this book. And it was really, really cool in high school being able to, read this. So this one is the first printing was 1969. My copy is the 7th printing in October of 1971. So that was just a few years before I started. So 6 years before I started. Actually, it would have been 5 years, 11 months, if we want to get technical. And it's dedicated to the tortured soul of Harry J. Anslinger, the former head of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics. If it weren't for him, we wouldn't have a book. Well, or no, maybe there'd be lots of books. Okay, and of course there's a disclaimer, note from the authors. We have never smoked marijuana and never will. But our friend Ernie Lundquist has. He told us all the stuff that's in this book. And it gives Ernie's address in California. And it says he keeps his stash in the curtain rod. Now that the book is finished, they don't need him anymore. And it says, warning, this is not a good book to hollow out and hide pot in. Oh, okay. So this is interesting. Okay. Note about the epigraphs. The beginning of each chapter, we have included a complete poem selected from Robert Louis Stevenson, collection of poetry entitled A Child's Garden of Verses. Each poem seems to fit the material of the chapter heads very well. Do you think that old Bob? Well, I actually, when I was in high school, I did a massive paper on cocaine. And Robert Louis Stevenson was actually a cocaine user in the 1800s when he was writing his books. And I believe Treasure Island, he basically, did a whole bunch of coke. And when he came down, I believe he wrote like Treasure Island, just sat and wrote it. Like every freaking word came out of him. The entire book was in his head. So that was very interesting. I would, if he was a cocaine user, then maybe he was also a hash or a cannabis user too. So be very interesting. So I don't know if you can tell, but there's it was read, it was opened. I definitely looked at this book. I read it. I remember, reading the section on eating, cooking with grass, because, people would cook with grass in high school, and sometimes it would get you high. Sometimes it wouldn't get you high because, whether the person who was making the brownies or the cookies, if they actually knew what they were doing. And, if the cannabis was really getting decarbed or not. That was a hit miss thing. Okay, so sometimes you'd go to a party and you'd eat a brownie, and by the end of the party, you'd be somebody like me, fairly high metabolism, you'd be fairly fucked up by the end of the party. Other times, you'd eat and nothing, nada, zilch. You'd be like, okay, my joints are getting me high, but I don't feel the cannabis. So it was very, very interesting. So let me see if I can find you a little music. Here we go. Music. Listening to music while stoned is a whole new world. Did we say Pink Floyd in high school? Rush. I can remember being on a rug, being stoned out of my mind one time, listening to Dire Straits. That wasn't high school, that was early 20s, so. But, It's for smoke 'em, you gotta cannabis is, you know, them. And if not, keep trying, right? Keep trying. You know, the other thing I found while I've been cleaning up is I've actually found like real ashtrays. My old ashtrays from long ago. It's so nice. Ashtrays are, you know, nice ashtrays are hard to find. They don't think we should have them anymore. Crazy. And then, of course, you know, when we were in those establishments, smoking cannabis, Vapor Central, and Joey's Comedy Club, and things like that over the years, back in the day. There were those little bowls that had no place to really rest your joint because they weren't really supposed to be a freaking ashtray. What can you say? Back to music. Most heads consider its importance second only to sex in the realm of trippdom. And grass will change your musical habits, generally for the better. Stoned or not stoned. If you hate classical music, get stoned and listen, even to something very sophisticated. The sounds will take on new meanings, and you will hear structures, instrumentation, and passions which you've never had the capacity to hear before. And often you'll get an insight into what the composer was trying to do, even though you've had no experience in classical music before. We're convinced that the hi-fi and stereo boom is to a great extent due to the fact that so many people are now getting stoned. Because music, when stoned, becomes another world. Intricate, three-dimensional, visual, and completely understandable both intellectually and emotionally. Many people who had previously rejected sophisticated music now love it due to its exposure while stoned. The word appreciate means both to like and to understand, and you seldom really like something which you don't understand. If you haven't had a background in classical music, if you weren't brought up on it, you may not like it simply because you don't understand it. Normally, it takes a lot of exposure to serious music before you can understand it. But grass, for some reason, gets you into it right away. Grass makes it understandable and exciting the first time you listen to it. Ernie's really smart. If we haven't convinced you, try this little test. Get stoned and play the last part of Tchaikovsky's 1812. Oh, please. Fucking 1812 Overture. The part just before the end where the music goes down the scale, we guarantee that it will feel physically like a run down a ski slope or an orgasm, depending on where you're at. I will say that one of the ones I love listening to is Peter and the Wolf. Oh my gosh, and I'm a big Vivaldi fan, Pulse the Planets. Oh my gosh, there's tons of amazing classical music to listen to. Stuff. influence of cannabis, we can say. So electronic music, stir and well, straight, becomes truly funny when stoned. Although you might find intricate rhythms and sound patterns that make you hear this music as music for the first time. Let's say yes. Let's say King Crimson. Oh, really? Okay, okay. It's me. It's Janine, the Cannabis Fairy. Apparently, somehow. Okay, my today's technical problem was my camera was not working, and I was freaking out and freaking out and freaking out, and then I called Kim, and literally as I was talking to Kim, the camera, of course, started working. You know, Murphy's Law kind of thing, right? So then I just quickly clicked and so I guess I signed on as Kim and not me. Okay, well, I'll have to share it on my page then. That's hilarious. Okay, no wonder. That is, oh, we only have a little bit more. Let's see. Okay, so why does rock music appeal to someone who's stoned? Because the good stuff is full, rich, exciting music. People who would have been composing serious music 100 years ago are composing rock music today. What about those non-heads who are all musically oriented? Why do they snobbishly reject all rock music as trash? Perhaps because grass is the catalyst. Maybe you need to be stoned to assimilate the same themes and counterpoints and harmonies, which are used in classical music, but which in rock is coupled with a primitive driving beat. And the lyrics, rich in imagery, metaphysical conceits, symbolism, and inside allusions to grass or goth may be too obscure for the straight person. Rock music is written by and for heads. It's a rather well-known fact that almost all rock groups are heads, and most of the writing and composing is done while they're stoned. Although most heads buy a lot of rock music, it's not created strictly for the sole purpose of amusing stoned people. But as Ernie once said, those who take care of us, we take care right back. Oh my gosh, after all we've said about music, perhaps now you understand why musicians were the first major group of people to start using grass. For those who have recently started smoking grass and are not into music, we recommend you listen to the following: classical music, folk and acid rock, electronic music, and jazz. We suggest that you not listen to Myron Florin music, Dick Pitino music, Florian Zabak music, elevator music, and polkas. That is so cute. But, oh my gosh, like, what a really good description of of cannabis being a gateway to loving music. And I will say that in high school, we did listen to classical music. All us stoned kids would get together and we would play all sorts of very interesting music. I hate to say one of my friends from high school, one of the first ones to die early. She was a big cannabis smoker. Liked her drinks too, but she loved all sorts of really bizarre music, and she really, I would say, broadened. I had a fairly broad background. My father was a trumpet player, and we used to go to Bourbon Street on a lot of Sunday nights, and my dad would bring his trumpet, and we'd eat dinner, and I'd be young, and they'd give me wine, wine and ginger ale in the glass, and then music would start, and my dad would usually go up and join them at some point. So I had a fairly broad music. Musicians were always coming to the house, and lots of jazz and blues and all sorts of things. But there were lots of people that didn't grew up in a very waspy, straight-laced house where CBC was on and not much else. I mean, in the 70s, not everybody had stereos, right? People had radios and black and white TVs, but not everybody had color and big stereos. But I did. So Linda, every year for her birthday, she would ask for some bizarre, or not bizarre. One time it was she wanted Michael Jackson ABC album. One year she wanted the soundtrack to Hair. One year, oh my God, one year it was so hard. She wanted Nana Muscuri. She wanted a Nana Muscuri album for her birthday. Another year was Kate Bush. So it was really, really interesting. So I personally, music and cannabis are synonymous together for me. Please, who didn't go to concerts and eat grams of hash and to get even more freaking stoned and just, smoking joints and hotboxing in Maple Leaf Gardens? That used to be fun, hotboxing in Maple Leaf Gardens. So yeah, right? I mean, we used to sit in there, get stoned out of our minds. But if you ate some hash too, then you were even more stoned. And I will say, for would have been my 21st birthday, actually. My friend, we got tickets to Jethro Tull, and I'm going out with her tonight. I'm going to have to chide her about this. She actually, the day of the concert, went to A&A Records and Ticketmaster and asked, what's the best seat you got? And they had one front row ticket. Which spot? And then she, had an extra to give somebody else. There was like a group of about 8 of us that were going for my birthday. So she was like, I can remember her turning to me and going like, I love you, but I don't love you that much. I'm not giving you my front row, uh, you know, ticket. So we went to the concert. We got really freaking stoned. Um, one of the few occasions where I really don't know how we, like, I really have no recollection of how we made it from the Maple Leaf Gardens. I remember being on Young Street, there being a big cloud of, we would hotbox Carlton there outside of Maple Leaf Gardens. I remember that, but then I sort of remember us being home. And we were all so freaking baked that my Heather had an ice cream cake for me in the freezer. She took it out, she put candles on it, she lit the candles. We sang happy birthday to me. I blew out the candles, and then she put the cake back in the freezer, and we all literally like passed out on the floor. Okay, we were just like so stoned we couldn't even eat cake. Okay? And then about 20 minutes later, two more friends came. Jenny and her boyfriend at the time, I can't remember who it was, but Jenny and a guy came. And there was knocking at the door. And I can remember I had a mattress on the floor. And I can remember crawling from my mattress to the door, reaching my arm up, not even like standing up, just reaching up with my arm, opening the doorknob and opening the door, and just crawling back to my bed. It was unbelievable. That was pretty unbelievable. And they were like, I don't know, I guess they, were ones that worked elsewhere and they didn't as much cash as us or whatever, but oh yeah, maybe it was somebody that had a car. But anyways, they were stoned, and I believe they had some cake, and they stayed. But the rest of us, oh my god, that was one of my pretty epic birthdays. I've had a few epic birthdays in my life that obviously the reason that made them epic is, oodles and oodles and oodles of cannabis usually is, one of the reasons. Yeah. So that's how she blows. So music, I don't even know how many concerts I went to. I went to so many concerts that I believe it's damaged my hearing. And geez, by the time I was about 19, I was like, geez, concerts are, or no, maybe about 22, 23. I'd be like, concerts are getting really expensive now. It would have to be somebody really, really, really good for me to fork out the money. I remember seeing Pink Floyd when I was in my late 20s. And then the ticket prices were like crazy. Why would I go, spend all this money for somebody who's lip syncing and stuff like that? I'm a definite music person. I love my music. I'm part of a Rush music group. And in that group, I'm the Cannabis fairy for the group. And a lot of them are Americans. The group I'm in is, I hate to say, mostly Americans. And Usually when they come up, I consider myself the Canadian Cannabis Ambassador. That it's my job to make sure that they're happy and high while they're with me. I'll take care of all of their cannabis needs. Anyways, kids, it's late and I've actually been invited to go out and hear some music tonight. So the time to get ready and go out, get some joints ready, and off I go. Anyways, I had a lovely, lovely time talking. I'm just gonna have to post this on my page if it didn't come as me, and people will have to see it that way. And they'll be like, oh, that poor Janine, the cannabis fairy, just had another technical problem. Every Friday night, there's something new. And I will say that, like, it seems like my camera's still, you know? Who the hell knows? I wish everyone wonderful weekend, wonderful week. Big, big, big hug. Lots of kisses. Until we talk next week. Have fun, everyone. Roll them, dab them, eat them, everything. Enjoy that cannabis. Love you all.